This interview is brought to you by Maximus. Hello from San Diego. I'm Ross John Fortuny, recording from AFCEA USNI WEST 2026, where officials are discussing the future of defense technology. Joining me now is Kaitie Penry, Director of Research and Innovation at the Naval Postgraduate School. Welcome.
Thanks, Ross.
So I know you're doing a lot of stuff with NPS in industry and leveraging innovation, all those things. We talked here last year about a lot of that stuff. Bring me up to date on what's happened since.
A lot. I think just a lot has happened overall in terms of, how do we handle all of the different executive orders and policy that has come up from throughout the Department of Navy, through the Department of War, all the way up to, the president. And so how do we adjust to that? How do we make sure that we're meeting the demands and the needs? Some of the stuff that we've started working on in the past year, we put on our first ever reverse pitch day, which happy to answer any questions about. But we also, through our PIA partnership with the NPS Foundation, we also started hosting these Converge events. They go twice a year, once every 6 months, where we bring in about 30 or more industry partners to come in and have meaningful collaboration and interaction with both students and faculty in an effort to drive research. One of the things that we just incorporated, this last one we had a couple of weeks ago, was also bringing in more government collaborators as well. How do we create these cross-cutting teams that are actually able to move an idea into an impactful product that can get transitioned? So that's one of the big events that we're working on. Like I said, it's led by our PIA partnership with the Naval Postgraduate School Foundation. They have been fantastic in getting that put on and having it be a very professional event. And then we also just launched our first prize challenge. So prize challenges have been used by lots of innovation organizations. Turns out NPS can also do prize challenges, and we partnered with the Office of Naval Research, as well as with a project that was already being worked at NPS on a Tactical Missile Innovation Challenge.
Let's get into the Tactical Missile Innovation Challenge. So you're asking for methodology of development more than give me a hardware prototype, correct?
Yes.
Okay. That's fairly different. So what does that look like, and how is that turning out?
I have actually myself never seen a prize challenge that asks for the methodology vice like an end product. So this was very interesting when kind of my customer in this case, which is Major Dylan Pierce. He just graduated from our PhD program in June and has been asked to stay and finish transitioning this product that he built as part of his dissertation by Headquarters Marine Corps CDNI, which is awesome. It's a really big win for us. It's a really big win for the Marine Corps. It's a really big win for Major Pierce. What he's really looking at is how do we build things at scale? Does everything need to be exquisite? In a world of replicator, right, where it's things that mass, things that are attritable, how do we still use $300,000 missiles? Can we not have cheaper missiles? Can they be printed with commercial off-the-shelf parts, like 3D print them, incorporate COTS products, and then have a $5,000 missile that can be produced at scale, and if you lose it, you lose it, versus a $300,000 missile to a $1 million missile, which you want to be thoughtful when you use those. Yeah.
Of course.
So what the focus really is, and he's working closely with the Office of Naval Research on this, is how do we have better processes to be able to produce in a cost-efficient manner and at scale. And so that's where he's really interested in what is this different design methodology that companies may have that's innovative and can get after that ask, vice having a more exquisite one that would then lead to higher costs.
The speed element, I know, is something that's been one of the things I've talked about the most here in San Diego. It's been a critical thing always to talk about speed, and I imagine that's because of acquisition, modernization stuff, and more generally, the National Defense Strategy also talks a lot about it. So, how does this challenge sort of fit within that? I mean, I know you talked about it a little bit now, just talking about the notion of scaling up, but the fail fast stuff. How is that factored in here?
Into the challenge itself?
And how you're trying to speed up some of these things within the challenge and the stuff that works.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at a PhD student who, in his 2 years at NPS, went out to the desert 43 times. So it wasn't, let me sit here and try to make it as perfect as I can and then go and test it. He just did it right away. And has now since also incorporated the digital twin environment so that he can test and experiment even faster. And so this is, how can I actually deliver a capability when it's needed? And I think what's really interesting is having him as a warfighter develop it. It makes me think about what the CNO said yesterday in his keynote speech, which is how are we making sure that we are incorporating emerging technologies at speed, but then also making sure we're producing warfighters are able to use those technologies at the same speed.
That really goes hand in hand, I imagine.
Yeah, and I think a place like NPS, where they're allowed to build the product with the industry partner, is a place that can happen. And then you allow those leaders to go back into the fleet where they can pass that knowledge down holistically.
So the non-traditional tech startup side of things is something I did want to ask about, because I know that is something you hear a lot in the Q&As here at West about non-traditional tech startup. How do I get involved? How do I deal with that? What would you say to them as far as NPS, working with NPS, and working with the Navy overall?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of working with NPS, we do have a external interest form out there now that we're directing most companies to go to be able to even just get their name in the system. Once that comes in, we're able to reach out to different faculty members and the warfare chairs that we have on staff to see if there's interest in talking with them and seeing a demo. That's already led to about 10 different CRADAs and LP CRADAs getting set up at the school to get warfighter feedback, to incorporate them into faculty research. So that's one of the avenues, right? It's also looking at this type of prize challenge. Dylan really is interested in the methodology itself. And you could have a non-traditional startup that has a very creative, innovative methodology that could easily build out a much bigger, more ingrained company. We did have large corporations that showed up to the Ask Me Anything for the prize challenge. But those are also corporations that have had slower processes in the past. So can they do a fast, cost-efficient design methodology? I don't know. We'll find out in a couple of weeks.
Right. You could be doing more challenges at NPS, and more importantly, how do these kind of innovative methodologies factor into the future fleet?
Yeah, I would love for us to do more prize challenges at NPS. One of the biggest things is making sure that we have the right project in place to have it. A project where there's a transition partner on the back end. Right now, we have both the Office of Naval Research and Headquarters Marine Corps, CD&I, that want the product and they want to see it get transitioned correctly. And so that's super helpful. What I like about the prize challenge is that you're able to see different viewpoints and it brings in more industry partners to be competitive. I think we have a lot of industry partners we work with over and over again, and this opens the aperture and opens the ability to see what else is out there. Is the traditional industry partner actually the best one, or is there a new guy in town that would be a better partner on this? While West is really great, you get introduced to certain individuals. And the companies here may have a great product, but if you open the aperture through a prize challenge, you actually may meet a company that is a better fit for you. And so that's why I like it. It increases the competition. It, I think, gives that sense of needing to have something that can be impactful, and then people want to see, do I actually compete? Am I one of the best of the best? One of the important things that we're going to need to do, personally from the NPS point of view, is make sure we give the people who didn't make it to the final five, because we'll have a final five pitch kind of competition and choose a winner from there, provide them feedback. Why didn't they go forward? What was the issue? Because without us providing the feedback, how are they supposed to know what went wrong or why their pitch didn't hit? And I think overall, the Department of War providing that feedback back to companies that are non-traditional startups, non-traditional industry partners, they can start developing better products based on the feedback and the wants and needs and requirements that we have.
Yeah, I mentioned opening that world up, and then again having that two-way conversation. I imagine is completely invaluable.
Yeah.
Well, thanks so much for joining me. This was, as always, great to talk to you. Federal agency missions are complex, and innovation can't wait. Maximus is solving problems and streamlining operations while delivering results at speed and scale, providing precision and consistency, uniting strategy, advanced technology, process, and execution for a more efficient government. Every program, every service, every time. That's Maximus. That's innovation forward. Learn more at maximus.com.